Am I the a-hole for telling my parents I refuse to be their practice kid anymore? I, 18 male, am the oldest of my parents' 5 children. There's me, my brother 13 male, sister 12 female, sister 10 female, and brother 7 male. My parents never treated me that great, and the older I got, the worse it seemed to get. But I noticed as my siblings got older, it was different, and they were night and day different with me. I wasn't allowed to spend a lot of time with friends as a kid. My parents said there was no way they'd do all that, and I should be home. But my siblings, from age 5, could go to friends' houses, and from age 4 if the friend lived in our neighborhood. When I asked my parents about it, both times, they told me that I was their practice, and they didn't want all their kids to whine in their face about missing out. My parents had the rule with me that you eat everything off your plate, or it either gets saved for next time, or you don't get to leave the table. When I say everything, I mean clear your plate everything. So if I was full and left, say, 3 pieces or something, I was forced to stay and finish, or they'd be taken aside and served to me next time. Not with my siblings. And when I asked my parents about that, they said they learned from me. The next thing was grades. My parents were always super mad and angry when I got less than A's. Even if it was a B and everyone in my class got a B because the test was especially hard, it didn't change my parents' stance. I was grounded for B's. I was forced to do extra chores for a month. I was left out of stuff. But my siblings could get C's and D's, and it didn't change anything. This was another thing I brought up to my parents, and by that point, they were tired of me asking why things were different. They told me I was their practice run, and they learned from things with me. And I know people learn from parenting as they go. But they learned with me and gave the benefits to my siblings. I saw none. They were never nicer or let up on me. They didn't apologize for being hard on me or for yelling at me almost all the time. Nothing like that happened, and there are multiple other ways they were different between me and my siblings. Expectations for chores were way higher with me, always. Birthday and Christmas gifts were way different, and noticeably so, to make both sides of the family question what they gave me, because it seemed so little compared to my younger siblings. And it wasn't that mine were more expensive, it was always the opposite. There were also really strict times set for me. I wasn't allowed out past 4 p.m. during summer, even in my teens. I wasn't allowed to attend certain birthday parties, just so much stuff. My parents got annoyed over a year ago when my guidance counselor asked about any financial help I'd get with college and wanted to know if they had saved for me or anything. The way they reacted just ticked me off, and I know they're saving for my siblings, so that was when I knew I was done. I kept my head down for a year, and I left. I graduated last month, and I didn't let my parents come. My siblings weren't there either, but my parents expected tickets, and instead of claiming some for them, I got them for my grandparents instead. My parents were angry and confronted me about it, but I had already moved out of their house, and I live with my paternal grandparents right now. I told my parents I was done being their practice kid, and I refused to keep it up anymore. I said they can screw up with my siblings and learn to live with it, because I'm not here to be a punching bag while they get the best versions. My parents accused me of all kinds of things, called me all kinds of things, but I'm truly so done. Does that make me the a-hole, especially where my siblings are involved? That's why I'm asking here. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You're a kid, and you've been scapegoated by your parents for a long time. I can't imagine how much it would hurt to have such frequent reminders that your parents suck. You reached a breaking point, and breaking points are rarely graceful or pretty. Focus on you, get yourself in a good headspace and work on your future. Find supports outside your family and live your best life. I'm rooting for you. Nope, not the a-hole, and it's good you moved out of that toxic environment. I truly don't understand why they didn't eventually let up on you and tell you something positive. Certainly not fair, and in my opinion, mentally abusive. Hope your grandparents are doing right by you and that you get yourself on firm footing, setting up your future. My grandparents are doing everything they can to support me. The fact they were always there to advocate for me means a lot. Not the a-hole. I get being the practice kid, or in my case, the guinea pig as my dad liked to say, but once they realize one thing isn't working and they need to adjust, that means they need to adjust with you. Also not continue down the same path with you and a different one for your siblings. I'm glad you have somewhere else to live. What do your grandparents think of the situation? My grandparents are glad I'm away from my parents. Neither set of grandparents ever believed I deserved the way I was treated. And they all think my parents are awful for being so hard on me and blatantly treating me as less than. It was the cause of several fights when I was a kid. Next story. Am I the a-hole for ranting via email to my dad about his wife not being my angel or savior? My mom died when I, 18 male, was a kid. My dad remarried 3 years after her death. He was weird about his wife, Beth, always. He'd call her our angel and savior. He talked about her like we both fell in love with her and both chose her. Before they had kids together, he called her the best mom he ever knew and the best wife. I never called this woman my mom or even my stepmom. The whole thing bugged me, so Beth never left being Dad's wife in my brain. She loved hearing Dad say it, and she always had this negative energy when I didn't say those things too. There were times Beth tried to force hugs on me when I had stayed silent about what Dad was saying, or if I expressed anything against the use of our. She forced hugs on me in general too, but it was worse when I didn't agree with my dad. My dad never noticed. He was so cocky talking for the two of us that he never even realized I didn't speak up to agree, or that I never said those things. Beth did try to be those things, and she really tried hard to earn the mom title from me. She told me that she would never stop, ever. That she knew she could make me love her and wear me down eventually. I don't think she was evil about it or even trying to be malicious. I think in her way, she thought she was being extra kind and loving. But I hated it. The one time she really annoyed me by saying it, I told her she would never be as good as my mom in my eyes, so she should stop trying. She never told Dad, but she was upset, and I never apologized. I just stayed mad that she kept trying. Anyway, back to my point. My dad talked to me before graduation about what I'd say about Beth, and he told me he had written something that he'd like me to say. I told him I knew what I'd say and didn't need anyone's help. Dad was like, cool. And his response made me think even then that he expected me to gush about Beth, but I didn't mention her at all. Instead, after briefly thanking Dad, I gushed about Mom, and I talked about my love for her and the amazing mom she had been. Everyone but my dad and Beth were like, oh, she'd be so proud, and that's lovely. My dad was pissed, and Beth looked like she was trying not to sob from heartbreak. She actually did break down and leave for an hour, and came back to talk of Mom, which made her quiet the rest of the party. Afterward, my dad left me like 20 voice messages about my lack of praising Beth, and how she deserved way better, and why did I tell him I had my thanks for her written already? I never said that. Never. That was how he took what I said. But I didn't want to call Dad and be accused of being cruel to Beth for saying the things I knew I would where she could hear. So I ranted via email about how Beth's not my angel or savior, and how that was all Dad's BS and that I never ever loved or chose Beth. I said she didn't better my life. She wasn't better than my mom, that I would choose being alone over Beth. I then told Dad he never had any right to speak for me like that. And screw him for that too. And I told him his words about her being the best mom ever before she even was one. Felt like he was crapping on Mom. I must have written like 4,000 words before I finished. My dad wasn't the only person to read it. Beth saw and read it too. This enraged Dad, and he demanded I apologize to Beth and make it up to her. But I haven't, and I don't see it happening either. My dad realizes this too, because he asked when I became such a bastard and said I wasn't raised to be an a-hole. I feel like maybe I am an a-hole for how I have refused to accept Beth, and because I didn't even thank her at my graduation. I'm not sure I care really, but I want to hear the judgment of people who don't know us and just see the situation here. Of course, I can't write everything from the time I met her to now, because that'd take forever. But I hope this is enough info to decide. Am I the a-hole? That she knew she could make me love her and wear me down eventually. Ouch, that's normally a line used by abusers, not the a-hole. It always bothered me. That's one way I knew it wasn't all my dad, and she was equally as bad in wanting that. There is so much to unpack there. It really irritates me when people, mostly the parents, refuse to accept that there is a lot of room between being completely uninvolved with stepkids and trying to replace their parent. I wish both of them would have realized she could have been a trusted, valued, and even loved member of your family without trying to replace your mom. The cool thing about love is it's infinite. It's not like loving your mom left less room in your heart for other trusted adults. You should have been taught that it's okay to love both, and not disrespect to your mom to welcome Beth into your heart, nor disrespectful to Beth to continue talking about and loving or honoring your mom. All of that was on the adults in your life to get right. I'm sorry that they didn't. The thing is, a part of me always knew it wasn't outright disrespectful to mom. But the way Dad talked it very much felt like Beth was going to be seen and treated as the better version of mom. So any fondness I might have developed never had room to grow, because I never wanted it to be assumed Beth was better. It got to a point where I didn't want to like or even care about Beth even a little. Next story. Would I be the a-hole if I reject naming my baby after my fiance's dying sister? I'm 30 female, pregnant with our first. My fiance, 31 male, and I have been planning to get married for a while now and settled on next year. The reason for this is very sad, and I'm not blaming her at all for this, but his sister has cancer. Every time we planned for something, she would get sicker, and we put the plans on hold. We decided on next year because then we'll be together 10 years, and thought it would be cute to do it on our anniversary. His sister also seemed to start getting better, and we were so happy. But as it turns out, she's not getting better, and we got the surprise of a lifetime getting the news that we're pregnant. My fiancé was so excited he told his parents. They live with his sister in another country. We found out before we got the news about how bad things are going for her. But since we found out, his mother, and him as well, have been dropping hints that we name the baby after his sister. They've already given me some options if it's a boy or a girl. Luckily, not naming the child her name directly, but they suggest variations of it. And I don't want to. I haven't liked a single name they've proposed. I don't want to be the witch now and say, no, go screw yourself, while everyone is waiting for her to pass, but I also want this to stop. We don't even know the gender yet, and I don't want my child to be a reminder of an aunt they'll never meet if she passes before my due date. So, would I be the a-hole if I don't name my baby after her? And with that, tell them now while they're grieving? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Kids shouldn't be born with jobs or burdens. Mother-in-law, I appreciate the input, but we are focused on bringing a healthy baby into the world. We'll decide on a name when the time is right for us. You don't need to tell her now or ever that you don't want to use sister-in-law's name or any variation of it. Mother-in-law can find out along with everyone else once you finalize the documentation. Now you have to hope that fiancé doesn't buckle under the pressure. Ugh, thanks, I love that message. If a message of hers pops up again today, I'm copy and pasting. If you've ever met someone who was named after a dead relative, you may have noticed how it permeates their existence. The kid or the parent will often say upon, or soon after meeting them, X was my uncle's name, or we named him after my brother who died young. It's quite sad. That's also why this is so wild for me. My fiancé was named after a dead uncle that he never met, and he changed it when he turned 18 because he hated it and everyone knew that. And now he wants to do this to his own child. I understand the grief, but I wish he'll just relax. Baby isn't here for a while. No a-holes here. These folks are anticipating a painful loss and are trying to find ways to cope. I personally find the gesture beautiful, but it's not my kid. At the same time, you both have to like the names. It can't just be one of you. Would you concede to a middle name for the child after the aunt, or some other variation? That'd be a good compromise. I think everyone should consider something like that. I'll be open to middle name, but I'm afraid his mother would keep naming the child that and not respecting the first name. At that point, that's not fair to you at all. I think they're kind of blinded by grief right now, but that's not an excuse to try to force your will on others. It's a terrible situation, I'm sure, and I'm sorry for everyone involved. Gently push back and keep firm in the middle name. They'll hopefully come around when things settle. If mom changes the name once the child is born, and is a girl, you need to enlist hubby to correct her and put a stop to it. I'll definitely try. It's a little bit difficult at the moment with everything. But I do hope the sister is alive once the baby gets here. I know she'll also be against it. She named her kids the craziest of names going against the family name thing. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my brother's girlfriend be in our wedding family photo? I, 28 male, recently got married. Everything went well overall, but there was a bit of drama involving my brother, 26 male, and his current girlfriend, 22. Basically, my brother has a new girlfriend like every month. I'm not exaggerating. He has never had a relationship that lasted longer than 2 to 3 months, and we've all just kind of gotten used to it. It's kind of a family joke, actually. So when it came time to take our official family wedding photos, I pulled him aside and politely asked if his girlfriend could sit out of that specific photo. They had been together for 2 months. We included her in the casual shots, but for the formal family portrait that's going to be framed and hung in our home, I just didn't want to include someone who we probably won't even see again in a month in our family picture that will stay forever. He got really upset and said I was being disrespectful to him and his relationship. He said I'm acting like his relationships don't matter. My dad came and convinced him for a moment to take the photo without her, but they left the wedding early after taking the photo without her. Now he's barely talking to any of us. Worst thing is, my mom is on his side and said I should have included her, and that I can't know if their relationship is going to last or not. She said that once my wife and I were only 2 months into dating, and look where we are now. Now both my brother and my mom are mad at me. I don't feel like I did anything wrong. I have nothing against her personally. She seems nice, but I know my brother. I don't think he takes relationships seriously. He had more girlfriends last year than I've had in my lifetime, LOL. Not the a-hole. If I were the girlfriend, I would have happily not be in those pictures. That would have been too awkward. I would have insisted I not be in the photo. I went to a family wedding with my boyfriend of a year. I stayed away from the family photos. They insisted I was in them, but I didn't want to be. It worked out because we're married now, but we weren't together long enough for me to feel comfortable in family photos. That photo hangs in his mom's living room and his brother's girlfriend is in the picture. She's been out of the picture for 7 years. Not the a-hole. I've told this story a few times on Reddit, but when I was 20, I had been barely dating a guy for a month. We had been friends a bit before that, and he was my first real boyfriend, so even though it was too soon, I went as his date for his dad's wedding. His whole family took a shine to me over those 2 days and refused to take the big group family photo without me. Like I was standing back saying no and they were all chanting at me to get in the photo, so I eventually relented. Dead center next to my then boyfriend who was right next to his dad, the groom. We broke up horrendously dramatically a few months later. Turns out he has an issue with being truthful about anything. Anyhow, a few years later, I heard through the grapevine they put a sticker of our college mascot over my face on the framed pictures they had in their house lol. Do not get in the family photos until you are certain marriage is going to happen.